So I really wanted to make another fall pillow, so I took these two rugs from Dollar Tree. I took the tags off, obviously. I did give them a wash. Just one time through the washer cycle, I thought they kind of smelled a little funny. After I took them out, I did dry them for a little bit, so they are still a little damp. I just didn't want a lot of the fluff to build up in my dryer, so I took them out. Anyways, off camera, my mom crocheted a single chain for me. That way I had some time to do other projects. Anyways, thank you, Mom. So I went ahead and took the crocheted yarn that she did. It's just a long single chain, and I'm going to hot glue it down onto one side of the quote-unquote pillow slash it is a rug, okay? So I'm marking off exactly kind of where I want it to be. I don't want to go outside this outer border, and I'm trying to kind of mimic how it's gonna, like, what it's gonna say. Now you could use like a pencil or maybe like chalk to draw out your design and then glue it right onto it. Just something that's not going to be as visible. Obviously not a Sharpie. You're going to see that. It's not going to come out if you wash this. So just letting you know. So I end up doing the word welcome. I thought this would be really neutral decor, and you could actually use this all year round, not just for fall. Once my yarn was glued down, I then put the other side down and then put this side on top. And now I'm just going to literally hot glue the pieces together. On one side, I am going to leave it open, so that way I can stuff it with stuffing. It is now ready to be stuffed, which I end up just using stuffing from Hobby Lobby. Once it was stuffed and ready to go, I just hot glued this piece together. And I started with the middle and then worked my way towards the other sides, I guess. That way I made sure that everything is even when you clamp it together. I would recommend using an actual clamp and not your fingers. This can get really hot and burn through the fabric and burn you. Just FYI, because I've done that plenty of times, but as you can see here, I kind of go pretty fast over it. If I squeeze pretty fast, it's not gonna, my hand isn't staying on there long enough to burn me. And then I wanted to add a little bit of detail, so I took some twine that was from Dollar Tree, and I put it through a needle, a pretty strong needle. This is a yarn needle, and it's sharp. So I'm gonna be doing an X pattern on the edge of the pillow, and I'm doing just the left and the right side. I'm not doing the top and the bottom of the pillow. Alright, I'm just showing you a little bit up close on the pattern. It didn't quite make a perfect X like I wanted it to, but I still think it turned out really cool. I liked adding that little detail on here. Alright, for this next project, we are going to be making a medium-sized pumpkin, I guess. Obviously larger than the ones you see here. I got these two from Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to take some hot glue and glue these together. Then I'm just taking my kitchen shears, and I'm going to be cutting a large size hole in the top and the bottom of this piece that we just glued together. And then I took a Dollar Tree mop and I took all the strings out of the actual piece that's holding them together. And then I start off just by hot gluing one end of the string to, I guess, the top or bottom, whichever. I mean, right now it doesn't really matter. We just need to glue one end inside the hole, and then I'm gonna continue to glue strands inside, you know, like push them down inside the hole. So as I was doing this, I kept burning my finger by doing this, so I do recommend using one of those pink little guards for your finger when you're hot gluing something like this. I used the hot glue on the hottest setting. Once I got around, I ended up turning it on the other side to glue those strands down to the bottom piece. So all I did was keep doing that, and I would cut the pieces off, the excess, and take the little excess pieces and stretch those in the middle of the other pieces that I glued down, if that makes sense. You guys can see kind of what I'm doing. Horrible at explaining, better at visuals. You know what I'm saying? Okay, and then this is how it turned out. I used almost all of the mop head, if not all of it. I can't remember. But as you can see, the crochet piece I had left over of that from the first project. So I went ahead and just used it up and glued just random strands on here. I think I did about 5 just to give a little bit of texture throughout this so it doesn't look super plain, and I think this really added that little oomph that I was looking for with it. I think it turned out super cute. It's very subtle, but I think it was very effective. And then I just took the little birch wood piece that comes in a pack from Dollar Tree, and I stuck one of those in there, and it finishes off the little pumpkin. I think this turned out adorable. It looks super high-end. Definitely doesn't look like we spent like, what, $3 on this. So I'm really happy with the results. And I wanted to point out, you can actually use twine if you wanted to go back through and create some contrast with the lines. That might look super good, but I ended up not doing that. Totally optional. So this project, I end up picking a pack of these up. I might end up picking a few more up. It really just depends on how long my piece goes. I also am going to be using some other beads on my strand I'm going to be making here. You're also going to need twine for this project, but I'm just basically going to be drilling holes into these wooden blocks, these shapes, all different shapes, and I think I'm going to just notch out some of the corners on the cube. Like maybe just like 1 or 2 cubes, I'll do that. I want all different random shapes, different sizes and shapes for this project. I'm going to be mimicking the one I saw at Target for $25. I will put it in the description box below, as well as here's a picture of what it looks like. So pretty. So I'm just going to make something pretty similar for way cheaper. As you can see, this was $2.99 plus 40% off at Hobby Lobby. Okay, so far I just drilled some holes, and I want to point out to be very careful when you are drilling the holes in the blocks, because I did cut myself on my finger. Well, yeah. Anyways, just be really careful, because you have to hold the piece, you know, in your hand, and the other hand's drilling the hole. So you can easily get your finger caught into the drill bit, which that's what happened to me. Usually I'm pretty cautious, but accidents happen. Anyways, I do want to point, I'm loving like the random shapes and sizes. So some of the cones I drilled holes from the center, and then other cones, so like that's another same one. Other cones I did the side like this, just so it created like a different
shape and texture within the piece. You can see the cylinder. I got one through the middle here and then here. I actually end up taking the sander to some of the cubes just to kind of make it look a little bit more rustic, like it's been through something, like worn. And well, I'm loving this so far. I think I want to make it a little bit longer. It's not a bad size right now. It's about 3 feet long, but I think I want to go for just a little bit longer, so I might end up picking up another pack of wood shapes that I got from Hobby Lobby. I'll probably just use a coupon again and get that for $1.50 or so. You get 16 different pieces. I think it's awesome. I did have a leftover of this piece, so I added that on, and then added some other little ones on that were from this, that was also from Hobby Lobby. This was the wood bead garland from the fall section. And I just took a needle on the end of this twine and just strung everything through. This probably took me maybe 5 to 10 minutes to put together. I'm going to add some more on, I think, later on. So I haven't exactly cut this yet because I'm not sure. I did buy some more jute twine from Dollar Tree that I will be making the giant, I'm making pretty thick, big tassels that are going to go on the ends of these. So I cannot wait to do that. I think it's going to look super good. I just really wanted this big, bulky, random set of beads. I really love the one at Target, so I'm happy to create my own for way less money.
Alright, I wanted to show you how I created this tassel for the other end. I'm going to go ahead and show you right now. So I just took the twine, like I said, I got from Dollar Tree, and I took it and wrapped it around this crafter square pad that I had. So this was the perfect size. You could also use your cell phone, just something that's about 5 to 6 inches. And I'm wrapping and wrapping and wrapping. My thumb is holding one end of the twine down. I end up wrapping probably around 45 times. Once I was all done and ready to take the tassel off, I went ahead and snipped off the twine at the bottom. Then I took another piece of twine, slipped it up through here, and tied a knot. A pretty secure knot, and I pulled it pretty tight. And then I was able to slip it off, and I cut through the middle of the other pieces. Then I folded them together just to make sure I had the good width of tassel, and I went ahead and grabbed the other tassel and put it up next to it just to make sure that they were about the same size. And then before wrapping the tassel, I went ahead and tied the end of the beads around the middle of the tassel. Like you can see what I'm doing here. I tied a really strong knot, and then I went ahead and reclosed the tassel, and I took some more twine and started to wrap that around just to really hold that in place. And all I did was wrap, 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 and then when I got to the end, I then took another just random piece and I tied it a double knot, and then I just let that hang with the rest of the tassel pieces, I guess. And then the little teeny piece, either you can cut that, or what I end up doing was taking the backside of a needle and pushing it down through and pulling it up through under the middle piece of all the stuff we just wrapped. And then once it was pulled up through, I then went ahead and snipped off the extra piece at the top there. Then I went ahead and made sure all these pieces were laid out flat like this, and I trimmed off the little excess pieces right here just so it looked a little more neat. And here are both tassels put together, and we are finished with this project. I think these strand of beads turned out amazing. Definitely a really nice dupe. I recommend making this because it looks super high end. Alright, I'm moving back on over to the Dollar Tree. I picked up this little house figurine, whatever it's called. It's just like a wooden plaque in the shape of a house. It says, "Happiness is you." had these ugly flowers on there, so I'm tearing them off. I also tore off the leaves, but really that really was not as important because I took this and just flipped it around because all these little pieces were just not coming off. So it was so much easier just to scrape off the tag on the back and go ahead and start with a fresh, clean base. To mainly cover up that tag mark, I went over this with paint. I used white mixed with a peachy yellow tone. And then after that had dried, I picked up a pack of these mini wreaths I got from Hobby Lobby. I think it was like $2 or something like that in their Christmas section. So I just hot glued the wreath down into the middle of the home. After that was dried, I took this little bunch of faux floral from Walmart, I do believe, is where I got this. But I just end up cutting off a little bit of it. I wanted the smaller leaves, the smaller the better, obviously, since it's going to be going on to the wreath. I just went through and cut all the little leaves apart just to separate everything. So I was really able to customize this how I wanted it. And then I just started hot gluing the leaves down first in the position I wanted it. Then I went back over and just stuck in the little teeny berries that were on this stem. Then I got some of those foil letters that I picked them up from Dollar Tree. I had some left over. I went ahead and just rubbed on the foil. It's like a rub-on transfer. It's just like putting a sticker on. So I spelled out the word home. I thought that would be appropriate to put on the house. And here's the finished decor item. I think this looks super cute. It looks kind of high-end, I think. What do you guys think? Leave me a comment below. For this project, I picked up one of the pumpkin wooden plaques, signs, whatever this thing's called. I took off the raffia bow, and I thought maybe trying to get this glitter off, but it's going to be easier just to flip it over on the other side and work from a clean base. So I just took the sticker off instead. And then I got this paint. I mixed up a white with pink and yellow, a little bit of gray to make this really pretty, soft, peachy tone. Very neutral. And I just started by giving a quick little coat. I ended up giving this about 6 coats just because it was black and you could still see it, like the black through it. I went ahead and did the edges as well. Now that all the 6 coats have dried and everything, I'm gonna just take that raffia bow that was on it and re-glue it on. And here's the finished pumpkin. I absolutely love it. For this project, I picked up some of these wood letters from Dollar Tree. To my Dollar Tree, this is a new item. Never seen them before. So there's 26 letters. All the letters are there. I picked up 3 packs. And then I just painted them with the black paint from Dollar Tree. And when I painted them, I made sure I got the edges. I didn't want any of the wood showing. I wanted this whole thing black. If it's easier, you can always take this outside and spray paint it. The second part of the project, I picked up one of these arrow signs, found them in the craft section at Dollar Tree. They have a lot of cool like wood pieces you can work with nowadays. I tore off the back with the string here. I didn't really need that on there since I'm going to be gluing this down. Then I mixed up my own stain using water, and I used a little bit of black, a little bit of yellow paint, a little bit of orange. That seemed to do the trick and get me this really pretty brown. So I just slapped it on there and then took a wash rag and wiped it off, and this is what it looks like. I really like the brown, how it turned out. And I had actually a lot of the stain, quote unquote stain, left over. So I went ahead and I stained my little Dollar Tree star drawers or whatever they're called, and this other little crate that I made. I wanted them a little bit darker from the previous video, so I went ahead and just did this, and I really I really like this color a lot. It looks so much better than what they did. So I went ahead and just did all those. And if you haven't seen that video, I'm going to go ahead and leave it in the link down below in the description as well as in the cards above. Moving back onto the project we were supposed to be working on. I got this from my shed. It's actually a leftover cabinet door from when I remodeled my house. I have several of these, so I do plan on making more of these in the future. So I just took all the tape, the stickers, everything off. I gave this a nice clean. After it was dry, I then took this interior exterior paint. I got it from Walmart on clearance, about $4. So this paint is paint and a primer, which I highly recommend using on a cabinet door like this because regular acrylic paint might not stick very well to the door. I just gave this one quick coat. I went over the sides, the edges, everything, and I went in a back and forth motion to try to mimic like wood grain, I guess, with the brush. So I just kind of kept that in mind. Always went back in the same direction of like where the wood grain would show up on a normal board. Alright, so I let this dry for the night, and then the next day I got it back out. Obviously, here we are. So I'm going to be gluing my pieces on to create the sign now. So what I want my sign to say is pumpkins for sale. So I kind of just put the letters down to kind of see like the spacing where I want to put this arrow. Went ahead and hot glued the arrow down. Then I started playing with the letters, kind of how I wanted them to sit on the sign. I thought it'd be kind of different and neat to put the words for sale on top of the arrow. So that's what I ended up doing. So this is how the sign turned out. Sorry, I'm laughing at the transition with my finger snap. It was horrid. Now for the next sign, I took 2 of these Beware signs I got from Dollar Tree, obviously. I first started to remove the ribbon and the tags, keep the ribbon for a future project, by the way. I am just going to use that same paint and paint straight over the front of these. It goes right over that glitter so well. I was super impressed, so definitely just go ahead and go over the glitter. Then we don't have glitter all over our house. So I'm going to go ahead and let these dry for at least 3 hours before touching them again. Okay, so before I start my project here, I'm going to be spray painting these little gems black, as well as these red beads, also from Dollar Tree. I spray painted those tan. So I first flipped the signs over, and I hot glued the piece down to secure the 2 together, and then I put one on the front and covered it up with some burlap. Everything was from Dollar Tree. I just did that on a few more pieces in there just to kind of make it all look, you know, like it's supposed to look that way, you know? Then I found these sticks, actually from my yard. I had to get some heavy duty cutters, cut those up. I ended up spelling out welcome and made my W with the sticks. So I ended up just using different resources and materials to make up the letters to put on my porch. So I'm just going to let you guys see the rest of this. And I'm going to stop blabbing.